morning and welcome to Collective Church. My name's Lisa. I'm a servant leader here and we want to say welcome. Welcome to Collective at Home. We are believing today is going to be so much fun, so exciting, and we are so glad you joined us this morning. If it is your first time at Collective Church, we are so thrilled you chose today of all days to be with us. If you haven't yet, your host should have a card for you to fill out just with a little bit of information. We just want to get to know you a little bit better and see how we can partner with what God is doing in your life. At Collective, we are imperfect people and a perfect God changing the world together. And the way we do that is there are three key pillars: real connection with God, real relationships with others, and real impact in the world. And today we are focused on those real relationships with others. You're gathered in homes all throughout the city, coming together to connect, to grow, to eat good food, drink good coffee, and have good conversation. And I want to encourage you, while you're together today in homes, really go beyond the hey, how are ya? And see what's going well in people's lives, what's going hard, how can you be praying for each other? Dive into those relationships. I believe with the depths of my heart that the way we grow the most, the way Jesus can refine us the most and become more like him is through relationships with other believers. It's the way we get refined the most, it's the way we can be challenged the most, and it's the way that we can grow the best. So I want to encourage you, really dive into those relationships today. Grow together, connect with the people around you, and really go after those real relationships. If you haven't yet, grab your notebook, grab a pen, grab a cup of coffee, get cozy as we listen to this message from Pastor Drew together.
Welcome to week 3 of our One More series. We've been able to talk about one more prayer and gave the challenge for every single person to pray for at least one more minute. Pray for 1 minute and conclude your prayer time with the Lord with, God, would you open up my heart for the lost? God, I pray that the lost would come to know you. God, would you open up my eyes? God, would you give me opportunities? And every single day, 1 minute minimum, and respond to whatever God does. And over the last couple weeks, if you've been doing that, you've probably found that those opportunities have started to come to you. In fact, whenever I talk to someone who has a problem and goes, man, I hear you telling me to be missional and I hear you telling me to invite and find those opportunities and I'm not seeing them and I have a hard time and I'm trying to figure out if I'm wrong or if you're wrong. And when we have genuine conversations like that, I find that there's usually two big problems. And the first one is, are you praying about it? Are you praying into this? If you're not praying into it, you're never gonna see it. But the second problem is, well, I don't have any lost friends. And this is a real problem because what usually happens, what I find in terms of people that are missional and evangelize really well, the best people that I know at this are usually people who just got saved, who just discovered Jesus. And what's happening? They're like, I don't even know how to describe it, but this is amazing. You got to come and check it out. He's changed my life. Everything's better. I see the light. Come on, right? And I don't have great descriptions. I may not have all the answers, but you got to come and check this thing out. And it's just this simple gospel. Come on, follow Jesus and you'll see his light and give everything else up. There's nothing better. And it's just that simple. But over the years, we start to complicate it. In fact, I find right around 3 to 5 years where most Christians find themselves after being saved, about 3 to 5 years, is that the relationships when they first got saved, that they go, I'm trying to distance myself from the darkness that I was living in. And so I've had to distance myself from some relationships that were pulling me back into that. But then I just permanently stopped those. And I find that as I've drifted, I've committed my life to Christ. And so what do I like talking to other people who've committed their life to Christ. And I get along with them. And so I've started to drift, and all my friends, all my acquaintances, the people who I happen to strike conversation up with, all feel and think just like me. I'm my bubble that I live in is now seeming to be fully Christian. I don't have lost friends. Now, this may not be every one of you. Many of you may go, I wish that was my problem, but every time I mention Jesus around my friends or my family, I might as well just be talking a different language. But for those of you who've been following Jesus for a while, usually what we find is we've drifted ourselves into a place where we're surrounded by the saved and we have no outlet to the lost. And that's dangerous. In fact, if we look at the life of Jesus, we got to ask ourselves, who were the people that were most comfortable around him? Because it certainly wasn't the religious leaders. The relationships and the conversations with the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, the priests, they were tense. There was name calling and head butting, and they're trying to manipulate him. And it was not good. Now, who were the relationships that just loved Jesus? And who were the people most comfortable around him? It was the sinners. It was the people who were outcasts, the people who admitted their sin and their brokenness and their weakness. In fact, we see when Jesus invites Matthew, the disciple, to come follow him. We see this in Luke chapter 5, 27 through 32. And Jesus invites him and says he sees him. He is a tax collector, and he's literally working right then in the job that everyone hates. He's stealing money from the Jewish religious nation, and so that they have to pay to the Roman oppressive government. And he's the Jew that is submitting to the Romans, and so everybody hates him. And he's taking money off the top for himself so that he can get as much money as he wants. Now, it's this dirty, nasty job, and Jesus says, hey, I want you to follow me. I want to hang out for 3 years together. I want you to be one of my 12 disciples. Now, his name was Levi before it was changed to Matthew. And in this, then it says Matthew invited Jesus into his home, where all Matthew's friends came, fellow tax collectors and other people that associated in that dirty, rotten Jew circle that all the other Jews hated. They were Jews, but they were hated more than even the Jews hated the Romans. And the reality is that people would look in from the outside and go, why is Jesus hanging out with them? And then he says, the sick are the ones who need a doctor. In the same way, I've not come for those who think they're healthy, who think they're righteous. I've come for the sinners, the people who recognize they need saved, who admit and confess their sin. So who is that? That's these people. I'm hanging out with them, and they are the ones who feel comfortable around me. I feel most comfortable around them. And then I look at my life and I go, is that me? Honestly, look at your life and ask yourself, who's most comfortable around you? Is the love that you emanate just so powerful and graceful and kind that it forces people to go that have never loved Jesus or church or any of that stuff to be drawn to you, because that's what was happening. Jesus is dressed it's like when you see a priest with a clerical collar. You see him and he's dressed in rabbi gear, and everybody knows he's a spiritual man, and yet the people that are around him are despicable sinners. And the other spiritual dressed people, they can't stand him. And the reality is that we usually find ourselves stuck in a place where we're most comfortable around believers. We're incredibly uncomfortable around non-believers and people who are stuck in sinful, messy junk. yet recognize they need help. And we get more comfortable around our little bubble and our little circle, and that looks nothing like Jesus. So our challenge today is one more friend. One more friend. And what I want to challenge you guys is to be Jesus in the way of finding a friend who doesn't know, doesn't love Jesus, and love them. And so this is we're introducing this concept of one, having a one. Who is your one person? And maybe you'll have multiple people, but this is your one. And the whole idea in this was actually introduced in January 2021, and I don't feel like I gave great clarity or continuity and followed up with this concept. And so what I want to do is I want to challenge all our groups to ask this question: how's it going with your one? Who are you loving, ministering to, and being intentional? Now, what is a one? So we got to explain this. What is a one? A one is someone who does not have an active relationship with the Lord, who is not following Jesus. They also have to be local. This is not someone, you may have someone that you're praying for that lives in Chicago, in Germany, I don't know where it is, but that may be one of the people that you're praying for to come know the Lord, but someone that is local, that you can be intentional with. And then, here's the third, a one is not a project. A one is not how quickly, how soon can I lead this person through the sinner's prayer and whatever I might do. This one is going to be different. I want to challenge you in this. Your goal is love. Your goal is love. And to live a life where you're not bringing anything up, but you live a life so radically committed to and following after God that they can't help but ask questions. And the reality of this is it forces us into a place where I have to make sure that the ministry that I live is a more powerful ministry than words that I may be able to say. And the reality also, we look at this is what Jesus did. When the week before Jesus is put on the cross, he meets a guy named Zacchaeus. And he's not just a tax collector, he's a chief tax collector. He's the boss of Matthew. And Jesus says, Zacchaeus, I'm going to come and eat at your house tonight. And so he invites himself over, and same thing happens. All these sinners are going to Zacchaeus' house, and Jesus is there. And it says that people on the outside see all these sinners go in, and they're like, wow, look at those tax collectors. Look at those sinners. Look at that. Oh, man, it says they started murmuring on the outside. What's going on in there? Why does this holy man, why is he doing that? Can you imagine seeing me walk into the house in your neighborhood that you know sketchy stuff might be going on in there? And it's not the best house in the neighborhood. And you see me walk in, and then you see all these people that are high, that are drunk, and have terrible lifestyle, and you're like, what is going on in there? And those thoughts is what everybody was having on the outside. What was going on the inside? It says Zacchaeus stood up in front of everyone, in front of Jesus, and he says, if I have stolen any money, which I have, if I've stolen any money from someone, I will repay 4 times. He was finding powerful, generous repentance because of the kindness of Jesus. And it doesn't say Jesus led him to this conclusion. It says he was responding to the grace and love of Jesus. That is what we're called to. They're not a project. If the Holy Spirit really is leading you to do something, don't disobey the Holy Spirit in trying to obey this. But the reality of going, man, I've got to find someone that doesn't know Jesus, that is local, that is not a project, and that I can intentionally love. This is not someone I just pass by. This is someone who I move my schedule around and inconvenience myself to love this one? So I want to challenge you to find one more friend, a friend that's missional, that I'm the influencer, not I'm being influenced by. Who could that be? Maybe you know right now. Maybe you gotta go, I gotta pray into this because I have no clue who that could be. And start having some conversation about who could that be and how can you start to love them so radically and live a life that's so different that causes them to ask questions. Go ahead and discuss, and we will see you at Collective next week.
Thank you so much, Pastor Drew, for that word. I feel so challenged and I'm so excited to carry that into my life throughout this week. I believe it's going to be so powerful and so transformational for so many of us. We have some really exciting things coming up here at Collective. First being Eggstravaganza. It's right around the corner. We have 20,000 eggs this year we are hiding. I think it's gonna be the best hunt yet. We've also got food trucks, we've got bounce houses, face painters, you name it. We've got so much fun planned. It's gonna be a great day. I encourage you, invite your friends, invite family, invite anybody you see who's got a kid. It's gonna be a great time. It's free except for the food trucks on April 1st at 11 a.m. Millard North High School on the track. It's gonna be a ton of fun, our best extravaganza yet. I'm believing and I hope to see you there. Extravaganza means Easter is right around the corner. I am so excited because this Easter Sunday, we are starting a new series called There Will Be Light. It's asking that tough question of, can God be good when there's so much bad in the world? I know I've asked that question. I know I have friends who's asked that question, and I'm sure you have too. So I want to encourage you, not just to Easter, but really, truly go invite your friends who you know may be struggling with that same thought, those same questions. Invite them to Easter Sunday and invite them to the series. I know it's going to be powerful and transformational, and I'm believing that we're going to see lives transformed. At Collective, part of our heart and our mission is to make sure that our community knows we're here to serve and help them however we can. And last week we got to do just that. We had Serve Week where our groups got to go out and serve the community. It was so cool, so powerful. We had amazing stories come from it. And I'm sure if you weren't a part, there's someone in your room today that was. Ask questions, ask for stories. It was so cool. And I'm sure there's someone there with you today who would love to tell you all about it. One of the best ways to support the mission here at Collective, things like Serve Week, is through your tithes and offering. If you'd like to give today, you can text 402-251-2510, go to collectiveomaha.com/give, or you can give it to your host. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We're kicking it over to your host for a little discussion.